Today we are tackling our favorite science fiction stories, finding out what exactly is the science and what's the fiction. Let's get started. In a galaxy far, far away, besides the obviously fictional aspects like space monk wizards with lightning, who use a mysterious force known as, the Force, to move objects, negotiate with the law, and Skype their friends, there are a few areas that are passed off as real science. How much is true? How much energy would it take to destroy a planet? Is it possible to travel faster than light? While Star Wars is celebrated for the many things it does right, let's look at what scientifically misses the mark. 1. Parsecs.
Fast ship. You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Should I have?
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
What's wrong with this scene? Well, let's look at what exactly a parsec is. From Hand's boast, it sounds like it's a unit of time, which would make sense for something called the Kessel Run. However, a parsec is actually the primary unit of stellar distance, equal to about 3.26 light years. 1 parsec is the distance to an object with a parallax of 1 arcsecond, measured with a 1 astronomical unit baseline. So, d equals 1 over p. So unless the Millennium Falcon was trying to chase down someone in the shortest distance possible, it sounds like this feat isn't measured in the correct units. Embarrassing.
I would like you to be my guest at a ceremony that will make this battle station operational. No star system will dare oppose the Emperor now. Since you are reluctant to provide us with the location of the rebel base, I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan. Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
Commence primary ignition.
So here we have the Death Star, the size of the moon, shooting a laser and completely destroying an Earth-sized planet.
That's no moon.
In a matter of seconds, Alderaan blows up and is sent into interplanetary space.
Wow.
Let's think about that. First, using Earth as the proxy for Alderaan, the gravitational binding energy of the planet is about 2.24 times 10 to the 32nd joules, which I can't even read off what that exact number is. So yeah, it's a lot, and it's only the minimum amount of energy that the Death Star would have to create to blast it apart. So what's the green ray made of? There are many theories, but different astrophysicists interested in the subject suggest that it's channeled antimatter, which is kind of like an evil twin to matter. Because when a particle and its antiparticle collide, it leads to their mutual annihilation. Antiparticles and regular particles are the same in almost every way, but for instance, they have the opposite sign of charge. So when they meet, they turn into pure energy. Enough to destroy a planet? Maybe. The bigger question here is how the Death Star stored antimatter. For us on Earth, we can't store it for very long. No more than a few hundred milliseconds, really. But in a world where swords of light are mystically utilized, it may be that the Empire has made storage and channeling possible. So we'll have to leave this as, instead of outright impossible, up in the air. Rounding out the science and the fiction of Star Wars, we come to this iconic scene of the 2 suns setting over the desert planet Tatooine, and an angsty teenager named Luke. What would multiple suns really do to a planet? We can get a pretty good sense of it, because scientists have actually discovered a circumbinary planet. However, on this planet, it seems like sand people would be the least of the inhabitants' worries. On Kepler 16b, the first circumbinary planet to be discovered, it's very, very cold. If Earth had been made around two dimmer stars, like 16b, instead of our single bright sun, we would be even colder than 16b's minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, days would be brighter when both suns are up, and night would be strange too since the suns would occasionally set at different times. One source says, one of the challenges in determining whether or not circumbinary Earth analogs can be habitable is the rapidly varying amount of light, insolation, the planet receives in such environments. Large-scale variations in a circumbinary planet's insolation are caused by the rapidly changing distances between the stars and the planet, which in turn stem from the gravitational interaction between the celestial bodies. We don't really see this with Tatooine. Despite the double suns on the Star Wars planet, day and night seem to function exactly the same as they do on Earth, where we have just the one. Nonetheless, astrophysicist Alan Boss says that the sunset on Kepler 16b, or a circumbinary Earth, would look very much like the fictional Tatooine sunset in A New Hope. Quote, Luke looks up and sees the two stars setting. They would not be quite so large in the sky as in the film, but you would see two differently colored stars close together without touching. So the Star Wars image is not that far off. So imagery-wise, the science checks out. Day-night cycle, and possibly temperature-wise, not so much. It's still a cool concept though. Well, that's all for the Star Wars segment. However, there's still more questions to answer, so let's set off to another galaxy.